What's up, guys? It's Rob here, and we need to talk about CEI stock, Camber Energy, because this stock is going through a bit of a rough patch. There are a couple of reasons why, and some catalysts that could be leading to a rebound or a further crash, depending on what happens. It's important that you know what's going on with this stock, though. So we're going to talk about what caused this crash yesterday, first of all, right? You see they moved down massively from $1.98 all the way down to $1, where they finally found some support. They're currently sitting at $1.10, and we're waiting to see which way they're going to go. Now, it really depends on what we see going on in the world at this point, because the reason they moved down massively was actually the same reason that the stock market started moving up massively around the same time. And you'll see what that is right here, okay? In a nod to Russia, Ukraine says it's no longer insisting on a NATO membership. Now, why would this move down CEI stock, right? Why would this move down CEI and move up the stock market? Well, people are thinking that if Ukraine is no longer insisting on a NATO membership, then the fighting may soon come to an end in Ukraine, right? Russia might decide to stop invading. They might be able to reach some kind of peace agreement, and that would lead to potentially an end to a lot of the sanctions that we've been seeing on Russian oil. In fact, just yesterday, Biden said the U.S. will ban Russian oil imports, and the EU is pledging to cut Russian gas imports by 2/3 before the end of the year. Now, you're wondering what all of this has to do with CEI. If you're new to the stock, I'll let you know CEI is an oil company. It is disconnected from Russia, okay? They don't operate in Russia, so they don't have to worry about any of the sanctions that are going on there, and they actually profit when oil prices go up, which they certainly have been doing over the past couple of months. However, you can see that today they're actually taking a bit of a dip. Another reason why CEI is a little in the red. We're down about 10% on CEI today as oil prices are taking a dip. And there are, it sounds strange to say, but there are fears that the fighting might be over in Ukraine regarding CEI, right? That's what people are afraid of with CEI stock, because CEI, the better, the higher the price of oil is, and thus the more sanctions placed on Russia and the fewer people buying oil from Russia, the more demand there's going to be for oil from other places, thus the higher the price and the better CEI will actually be doing. That's why people are very excited about this stock, right? Why this stock has actually been pumping up over the past while. So obviously, nobody wants the invasion of Ukraine to continue going on because it's a horrible situation. So, that's one reason why I don't have the biggest allocation to CEI. I have a very small part of my portfolio dedicated to CEI in this play right now, because I recognize that there's a distinct possibility that we could actually see much higher oil prices in the near future. In fact, we're going to look at what some analysts are saying about what could happen to oil prices under certain circumstances. But obviously, I would be completely fine and happy as can be if the invasion of Ukraine ended tomorrow and CEI stock crashed because of it. I would be perfectly fine with that, because overall, I would much rather have the invasion of Ukraine come to an end than CEI stock be a successful play, right? I'd much rather that. Now, before we talk about the analysts and what they have to say about the price of oil, I do want to show you guys the channel analytics. We're currently around 11,000 subscribers, so feel free to join the family and get more of these stock market updates. If you appreciate this kind of stuff, feel free to do it. We do these pretty often and cover some of the hottest stocks in the market, so feel free to do that. Now, an analyst is warning of recession if oil comes to, if it continues to surge, and he's saying that it could continue to surge, and I agree, especially if Russia ends up making good on their threat to retaliate to all of these sanctions by refusing to supply Europe with oil. So you saw the EU is pledging to cut Russian oil gas imports by 2/3 before the end of the year, but that's only because they use such a massive amount of Russian oil. In fact, the EU imported around 45% of its gas from Russia in 2021. So they are massively dependent on Russian oil and gas. And if Russia were to just cut them off all at once, that would be a massive shock to the oil markets. We'd likely see oil prices skyrocket because there would be so much demand then coming from Europe that was no longer being supplied by Russia, that would probably see oil prices much, much higher. That would obviously be very good for CEI stock price. And you'd probably see a big pop in CEI stock. That would be my guess, right? That's the catalyst that we've got going for us thus far. The oil price rises. And we could see a big move in CEI if that ends up being the case. Now, it's not a guarantee. Once again, we could end up seeing Ukraine end up finding some kind of agreement with Russia. And maybe in that agreement, there's an easing of the sanctions. There's no threat of further sanctions. And that would potentially end up leading to a further decline in oil prices. Inevitably, I think oil prices will decline a little bit from whatever peak they end up reaching. I'm not sure if they're at the peak yet, but I think that oil prices are going to reach some kind of a peak at some point and will likely not stay plateaued at that peak, but will likely decline as people eventually get these supply chains worked out, right? I think that will eventually happen, and eventually oil prices will be moving down. So I wouldn't expect CEI to stay extremely elevated at their peak for a long time either, right? I think that this will be a play that has a peak similar to what they've had in the past. I think there will be a peak. Now, whether we've reached that yet is yet to be determined, right? This certainly could be the peak that we saw if we do end up seeing peace in Ukraine, which I think everybody is hoping for at the moment. But on the chance that there's not, this thing could move much further especially if we see Russia ban the sale of oil to Europe and the sale of gas. We could see oil get a lot more expensive, and thus CEI stock could also be getting a lot more expensive. Now, we'll briefly look at the shorts before we end this video out. You can see that there are currently more shorts entering CEI as their price has gone up and up. Some shorts are obviously betting on the fact that they think it's likely that CEI will continue to move down if the price of oil continues to move down, and that they think maybe it's likely that Russia and Ukraine are going to reach some kind of agreement. Maybe there's not going to be too many more sanctions incoming from either Russia's side or the European and United States side, and maybe there will be a lessening in the price of oil. That's what some people might be betting on. In the meantime, though, the short interest has increased to 11.63% of the free float, 32 million shares. It's a fairly significant number, right? 32 million shares of a dollar stock is about 32 million bucks short. So if this thing got up to $2, $3, $4, that would start to become a pretty significant allocation for a lot of shorts to have of their overall portfolio dedicated just to this one short position that would at that point be probably massively in the red. So there is the potential that if this thing goes way, way up, we could see some kind of short squeeze. We're a little ways off from that, though. At a $32 million short, just about, that's not the biggest amount of shorts in a stock, not the biggest capital allocation for a lot of these big institutions to have dedicated to CEI. So there's always the potential that, we don't end up seeing a squeeze or anything like that. But I felt like showing you guys the Ortex data and letting you know what we've got there. So for anyone who was interested, there's that. And I almost forgot to show you guys the social sentiment indicators. Real quick, we're just going to go over what's going on with CEI stock on Google, StockTwits, and on Reddit, actually, where it is making a bit of a comeback. We haven't seen too many significant Reddit plays in a while, but Reddit is starting to have a big impact on stocks again. That could be a good sign for the future of a lot of these smaller market cap squeeze stocks. So CEI is doing fairly well on Google Trends today. You can see we're actually not as low as we were even on Monday when this play really started taking off this week. We're not nearly where we were at on Tuesday when we were at our highs of $1.98. We have subsided in interest quite a bit. Typically, people often look at these plays as, once they move down 50%, they're pretty done. Oftentimes they think. However, in this situation where you do have the potential for new catalysts coming in, such as, what could go on with Russia banning the sale of oil to Europe, we might end up seeing this thing come back despite a 50% decrease just about in price from the highs to the lows. We'll see what goes on with it, right? There is still a chance because this is more of a catalyst-based play than just a price action play. Now, on Ape Wisdom, once again, I said CEI was doing pretty well. Yesterday, it was actually doing even better on Reddit. It was the number 7 stock, but today it's number 8. We're seeing it with about 100 mentions, 429 upvotes. It's actually unfortunate what's happened to Reddit. Lately, Reddit has been a bit muted in their ability to move stocks. We've just been in such a bearish market. We haven't been able to see anything like that happen with a lot of the more squeeze and pump-based plays for a while. However, it's looking like Reddit is making a comeback, very fortunately. And lastly, but not least, for sure not least, CEI is the number 2 top trending stock on StockTwits, so still getting a bunch of attention. A lot of people are still talking about this. There's still a bunch of interest in it, and although it has subsided in price quite a bit, there is the potential that it could be making a comeback. But once again, nothing's guaranteed in the stock market, and now I'll probably just insert this right before the outro, so I'll see you there. And other than that, guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Keep in mind, none of it is financial advice. I'm not recommending anyone do anything with their money. I'm just letting you guys know some of the catalysts that we've got going on with CEI, Camber Energy, and let you know what I'm thinking about it. I am still in this play. If we did move down super significantly, I'd probably decide to exit it because it's not a long-term conviction that I have in the price, but more of a short-term play based on the fluctuations in oil. So that's just what I'm up to with CEI. And if you appreciate that, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Other than that, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.